KBLA Talk 1580. That's Miles Low. Miles Low. Love that. Miles Low music. We don't run that into the ground before your next one drop, Miles. You can find him on Instagram, Miles Low Music, or wherever you get your music. Get Miles's music. He has a lot of different songs, but that one's the single, the latest single. You know it's bad when you get in trouble and your colleagues in the same industry say, yeah, good, it's about time you got that guy. Cartoonists from all over the United States are actually applauding the fact that these newspapers are dropping this Scott Adams dude who created Dilbert. They're saying they're happy. This one cartoonist named Hillary Fitzgerald, who writes for the New Yorker, says she's proud of publishers and magazines because they shouldn't tolerate this kind of language. You know it's bad. Hundreds of newspapers have already dropped the guy, including the LA Times, the Washington Post, and more, saying they're not going to carry him anymore. Penguin Random House Books has a subsidiary called Portfolio, and they have decided not to publish his book, Reframe Your Brain, which is supposed to come out in September. All this after a YouTube rant, which was spectacularly racist and unhinged, and also just mean-spirited and terrible. And did I mention dumb? Yeah, dumb too. So why on earth would Elon Musk tweet his support? I mean, you've got all the cartoonists in America going, this guy's racist, this guy's dumb. You should have kicked him out a long time ago. But here comes Elon Musk saying the media is racist. It's not Dilbert, who called all black Americans a hate group and said you should move as far away from us as possible because we're nothing but trouble. We're not worth the effort. But Elon Musk's pivot is the media is racist. You got to wonder, is he moving further and further to the conservative white supremacist side of the road? Has he always been this way? Is he trying to get attention, or does he just not get it? Like, sometimes I think people are just dumb. I mean, I know he's known to be a genius, but you could be really smart in some areas and be not so smart in others. Be completely incompetent in others. As you know, I mean, I've met the guy. On many occasions, he seemed perfectly nice, kind, funny. Yeah. And then you read stuff like this. That's what makes me go, what is that about? He says, it's for a very long time, U.S. media was racist against non-white people. Now they're racist against whites and Asians. Wow. That is privilege on top of privilege, sitting next to privilege, tweeting about oppression. Okay. Take all the seats, please. And why would you do that? Speaking of making bad decisions, why would you do that when your company, Tesla, is facing the largest civil rights lawsuit brought by the state attorney general for racism, for exactly this, for having your factories having sections called the plantation where only the black people can work, where black people don't get promoted and they're regularly subjected to being called the N-word. You think it's a good idea to say that the media is racist against whites and Asians. That's what you think. Well, of course it's racist against Asians. White supremacy is a hierarchical system from darkest to lightest. That's how it goes. And that applies if you go to Mexico, India. That's why maybe he and Mr. Adams need to read Caste by Isabel Wilkerson, because it kind of breaks that down and how it's worldwide. I said Department of Energy. I said Department of Transportation. I should have said Department of Energy when I was talking about COVID, so we'll call that a correction. Love to hear what you would like to talk about. Speaking of Elon Musk, he's fired another 200 people. Where does it end? Where does the bloodbath end? Well, that's what he's trying to do, is make it profitable. Meanwhile, he's being sued for not paying his bills to the tune of $14 million. Sounds like a hot mess. Really, really disturbing article in the New York Times about CIA torture. I read it and gave me nightmares. I don't want to give you nightmares, but I think it's important that we understand, what our nation does in our name sometimes, and get serious about holding government accountable for the so-called secret actions that are taken on behalf of the United States. Talk about that. Talk about what you want to talk about, what's on your mind. 800-920-1580 is the number. It's KBLA Talk 1580. We're amplifying black and progressive voices all day long.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Periods don't care what you're doing, but your pad should. Get Always Triple Protection System in Always Day and Night Pads. Always Day Pads protect when active by wicking away gushes 2 times faster than leading store brands and giving us up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort. When we size up our pad at night, we get the same triple protection, plus up to 75% more coverage in the back for when we're laying down. No matter what, Always has you covered, day and night.
The Venture X card from Capital One gives you premium travel benefits, perfect for seeing Taylor Swift's The Eras Tour, presented by Capital One. Oh, I do love her. Earn 5 times miles on flights and 10 times miles on hotels through Capital One Travel.
Enjoy your stay in Suite 13.
Whoa, 13? That's Taylor's lucky number. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Did you know that California has the first in the nation task force to study reparations for African Americans? The work of the task force is to examine and recommend to the state legislature potential remedies of compensation, rehabilitation, and restitution for African Americans, with a special consideration for the descendants of persons enslaved in the United States. The task force has been hosting public hearings across the state to create awareness and educate the public. Be part of history and join them for public comment from 9 to 10 a.m. on March 3rd and 4th in Sacramento at the next Reparations Task Force meeting. For more information, visit the California Department of Justice website at oag.ca.gov. That's oag.ca.gov. Or you can send them an email from the website. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
Well, I don't know if I've really been giving you enough good news today, but I try to do a good job at that because we have to stay encouraged, and there's always a lot of great things going on that just don't make it to the top of the paper, because if it bleeds, it leads is a real, true thing. And I love the fact that workers stood up for themselves in 2022. I hope it continues in 2023. Strikes, work stoppages up by 52% because workers try to push the line, right? Unemployment was at historically low levels last year. Yes, that is a Biden accomplishment. I think we need to start noticing those because, I mean, he's not the most charismatic guy, but why are his approval ratings so low? I don't know. He's had a lot of success, actually. On his watch. He did get us out of Afghanistan, albeit in a clumsy fashion. He has passed the so-called bipartisan infrastructure bill. He has passed the American Rescue Package, and help is on the way. He did, as promised, bring us a black woman vice president, the first black woman Supreme Court justice. His administration is full of African Americans and BIPOC people. First after first. He's doing a great job appointing judges, trying to hurry up and catch up from the terror of he who shall not be named judicial appointments, including to the Supreme Court. He's actually done a pretty good job in a lot of areas. So I think we have to start noting that when we talk about some of the stuff he's done. And in the area of supporting labor, he's strong. He So labor unions have, over the past couple of decades, had a smaller share of the population as we deregulate everything and corporate profits become more important than people, and we see the pay for CEOs getting further and further and further away from the pay of the average worker. But now we're starting to see a reversal in that trend with folks unionizing in everything, working to unionize everything from Starbucks to Amazon to fast food places. Right now, only 1 out of 10 U.S. workers is in a union, but what people forget is that if it wasn't for unions, we wouldn't have weekends. We literally would work 7 days a week. We wouldn't have 8-hour days, overtime pay. None of that stuff was just something that was always around in human history. No, that came about because of union organizing, and now you get it and I get it whether you're in a union or not, right? Most everybody gets weekends, except for the child laborers who unaccompanied minors that come across the border. The Biden administration says they're cracking down on that. But how do you hire a kid? Okay, I mean, I can go down that road. You run a factory like these meat packing plants and terrible, horrible, treacherous, and dangerous work that they've got these little kids doing, and you can't tell that's a 12-year-old? The employers are the ones that need to be cracked down on, ones that do that. In any case, I put this on in the win column, the fact that workers were standing up for themselves. A lot of those workers happen to be teachers and people who work at schools, whether they're cafeteria workers, whatever, and in the food industry. But good for you and good for us, America, for moving back towards organized labor and away from free market. And I think free market exploitation, I don't mean free market as a whole overall concept. And I think one of the things driving that is the fact that it's so doggone expensive to rent an apartment. You've got, in order to work where you live where you work, you have to walk out. And you have to demand better wages and benefits. Let's go to Fred, calling us from Los Angeles. Hi, Fred.
Good morning, Dominique. You hit it right on the nail. The unions are very powerful. I'm in the union 721. Just like you said, now the union, we'd be working 7 days a week. That's crazy. And it looks like the Republican Party is nothing but a train wreck. We got to stick with our man, Joe. And stick our man Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Now, 4 years, the Republicans want to get on Joe Biden because he's up in age, but yet they forget Ronald Reagan was in his 80s when he ran for re-election. So you got to think about that. Yeah.
But is that a good argument, Fred, though? Because he did have dementia. We now know that he had dementia, and that Nancy, if it wasn't for his wife, Nancy Reagan, he might not have made it through his term.
Yeah, I think people forget about that, and now I know Black History is coming to an end. Our buddy of mine said he's going to listen to your friend Travis O'Sullivan. He's going to pretend that Martin Luther King and Malcolm X are there, so I'm going to have him give me a rundown on that. So you're doing a great job, and keep doing what you're doing. And we got to stick with the Democratic Party for 2024, and I'll try to get on one day next week.
All right, Fred, I appreciate you. How do you know he's pretending? How do you know he doesn't really have Dr. King and Malcolm X? I'm just saying. Travis does amazing things all the time. It's the last day of Black History Month. And it is the eve of Women's History Month. Lots to celebrate, lots to talk about. Okay, I don't want to go too deep, but when I read about some of the things the CIA does, I mean, for those of you who watched Scandal, kind of an over-the-top show, but it was fun. I loved that show. It was fun to watch. But one of the things where they were really over the top is when they portrayed torture and how, they actually, that kind of got over to the corny at times, where they were actually torturing people as part of their fixer job or whatever. But anyway, it always seems really gross and awful, and we hear about waterboarding, but what they're describing happening at Guantanamo Bay and it came out in testimony in some pretrial hearings at Guantanamo Bay itself, really is horrifying because it puts the spotlight on when we say torture. It's not quite like Scandal. I mean, Scandal was bad enough, and we always hear about waterboarding. And I remember officials in the Bush administration defending waterboarding. But waterboarding sounds like a vacation compared to some of the stuff that Dr. Sandra Crosby was describing. She's an expert on torture. She was appointed by the court as part of a defense team for Abdulrahim al-Nashri, who is supposed to be, he's accused of being the man behind the bombing of the USS Cole back in 2000. And the lawyers for him want to keep certain testimony, confessions, I guess you could say, out of his trial because they say they're tainted by torture. So this Crosby, Dr. Crosby lady, broke down some of the things that the CIA did to this man, and apparently some of these are regular practices. You know what? I don't even want to share this, but so I'm going to kind of skim over it, and maybe I'll post it in case you want to read it, because I don't want to give you nightmares like I had. They call it rectal feeding. You know, garden hoses and other implements where they put protein drinks into the wrong end of the body, claiming that it was for nutrition for people who would refuse to drink or eat. But science shows, in case you were thinking of doing that, that you can only get nutrition in your mouth and down that way. It's not a two-way street. And so really these were just torture. She says the prisoners that this happened to consider it a rape, a sexual assault. So the question is, and this is the part after the nightmare, right? How do you hold secret agencies accountable? It's supposed to be secret, it's clandestine, and we're meant to trust that they're working on our behalf. But that, the agency, the CIA, wouldn't talk to the New York Times, so you know they ain't talking to me. But how do we, the American people, hold our clandestine agencies accountable? I mean, you wonder why people hate the United States. And these are the things we know about, right? And yeah, 17 sailors died. The attack on the USS Cole is a terrible, terrible thing. But you don't want to be the people that you claim to be trying to stop. You don't want to become that monster. So what the lawyers are saying is either you have to keep this testimony out because it was given under duress, or you have to take the death penalty off the table as a punishment for this guy. And, you know, like I said, I'm not going to go into some of the details in this article that gave me the nightmares. But when I think about that, I think about the fact that it's being done in our name. And yet we go around the world saying that we're this moral arbitrator of what, you know, democracy is meant to be. And so how do we do that? I don't know the answer to that, but one thing that I do know that makes a difference that we've seen, you know, within my lifetime at least, is that it makes a difference who's in office. Now, yes, President Obama did a lot of things that I don't agree with, i.e. the ramping up of drone strikes all over the world. But what we find is that when you get the more progressive, and I'm going to say progressive, not liberal, I'm saying that intentionally, the more progressive you get in your administration, the less likely you, and I don't know that we've even had a progressive administration. I think our vice president is the closest we have to a progressive in office in my lifetime. But what we are seeing is some of the progressive platform of a Bernie Sanders, of an Elizabeth Warren, of the AOCs and the Maxine Waters of the party now going mainstream because the American people demanded it, not because people just decided, oh, this would be a good idea, but because the American people demanded it. The more progressive, the more conscious you see our electeds, the less likely we seem to be to engage in that kind of practice, right? It was the Attorney General under Bush that was defending waterboarding, Mr. Lopez. We see that over and over again. You can see it historically. Again, these are reasons why who we vote in makes a difference. Where we don't have say, other than voting with our eyeballs, is the media. And back to my favorite talking point to debunk on a Talking Point Tuesday, the fact that the media is liberal. That is not just a talking point, it's just pure BS. And the information that's been leaked about Rupert Murdoch and the Fox organization and the way they knew that the election wasn't stolen, but decided to say it on the air anyway and had all of their major anchors saying it on the air anyway, even though the anchors themselves knew it was BS, said it was wacky in their own private time, but they wanted to win. They wanted to win the ratings, and they knew that's what those MAGA folks wanted to hear, and they were afraid of losing their market share to OAN and Newsmax. So they lied. They lied for ratings. And now we find out that the owner of Fox News gave Jared Kushner, remember he's married to Ivanka, the daughter of he who shall not be named, gave her information about Joe Biden's campaign ads before they ever aired. In other words, Biden bought ads on Fox, and then Rupert Murdoch leaked them to the Trump camp, notably Jared Kushner, so that they can, before the ads even hit the airwaves, they're able to respond to them with their own ads because they got a leak from the very network that calls itself news, which means you're supposed to be objective. That's not talk radio. They don't call it Fox Talks. They call it Fox News. This is all coming out because of the Dominion voting system defamation suit against Fox News. I don't see how Dominion loses with all this stuff coming out about Rupert Murdoch and all of the stuff coming out of his own mouth, coming out of in texts and private conversations between these anchors. That, I think, is against the law, though. I mean, I don't think you get to share proprietary information that hasn't been released. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure, but it seems to me the rules about, if you worked in media at all, you know that the rules about political ads and who can spend what and who has to have equal time to who and all, they're very specific. It's not just a free-for-all out there. And I'm pretty sure handing over the ad campaigns to a political client's opponent is illegal. In other words, Biden paid you to run those ads and you run over across the street and gave them to Jared Kushner. That actually might even be considered a campaign contribution, an unreported campaign contribution from Fox News to he who shall not be named. Meanwhile, Trump is saying Biden is spying on his campaign because that's what he who shall not be named does. He accuses you of doing what he's really doing. News, traffic, and sports. Then let's talk about it. 800-920-1580. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
We may be LA's newest talk station, but when you're punching above your weight, it's not about whether you can throw a punch. Can you take a punch? We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. And we don't black down.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Well, it's a big day in D.C. as the Supreme Court hears arguments over President Biden's plan to forgive an estimated $400 billion in student loan debt. The program would cancel $10,000 in debt for those earning less than $125,000 per year and up to $20,000 for those who received Pell Grants. The Biden administration is emphasizing the importance of Black history in America.
History matters. History matters, and Black history matters. Look, I can't just choose to learn what we want to know. We learn what we should know. We have to learn everything, the good, the bad, the truth, and who we are as a nation.
President Biden held a Black History Month reception at the White House on Monday. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org. Who has over 6,000 five-star reviews for water heater repairs and replacements? Water Heaters Only. That's who. Visit waterheatersonly.com for quick same-day service. And if you want low prices, that's their business. Waterheatersonly.com. That's waterheatersonly.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Just when things appear to be looking up for the Lakers, they get troubling news concerning LeBron James' right foot. LeBron was already ruled out of tonight's game in Memphis, but further tests revealed the injury is more serious. Sources close to the Lakers believe LeBron could be out several weeks. LeBron hurt his foot on a drive to the basket late in the third quarter of Sunday's game at Dallas. The timing of LeBron's injury could not be worse for the Lakers, who are 3 games under 500 and trying to make the Western Conference playoffs. The Lakers are 5-9 this season without LeBron. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. This sports report was brought to you by Original Taco Pete.
Aaron from Original Taco Pete's here, inviting you to our newest location at 3272 West Slauson off Crenshaw for Taco Tuesday, only $175. Call 323-348-4441 to order.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
The U.S. premiere of the official Bob Marley One Love Experience has arrived in Los Angeles. Open now through April 23rd at Ovation Hollywood on the corner of Hollywood and Highland. The 15,000 square foot immersive experience opens up the world of Bob Marley like never before and features the entire Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Bob Marley archive. A One Love force that takes fans on a trip to Jamaica in a multi-sensory environment, a silent disco that lets fans groove out to a curated playlist, previously unseen photos, and rare memorabilia, exclusive art from Mr. Brainwash, The Postman, Camo Works, and Idiot Box, and can't miss photo ops. Don't miss the opportunity to celebrate one of the world's most beloved and unifying musical figures. Tickets start at $20 plus fees and are available at BobMarleyEXP.com. That's BobMarleyEXP.com. Get your tickets today.
California is a great place to live and work, but those aren't easy things to do for students also going to college. That's why the state created the Californians for All College Corps, a way for students to build skills and help others while earning up to $10,000 for school. Commit to serve your community and we'll help you pay for college. Spots will fill up fast, so learn more and apply today at www.cacollegecorps.com. That's www.cacollegecorps.com. California is a great place to live and work, but those aren't easy things to do for students also going to college. That's why the state created the Californians for All College Corps, a way for students to build skills and help others while earning up to $10,000 for school. Commit to serve your community and we'll help you pay for college. Spots will fill up fast, so learn more and apply today at www.cacollegecorps.com. That's www.cacollegecorps.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, Maisha Cairo here, KBLA, live at Chase Bank on Crenshaw and Vernon for the In This Together tour with female business owners, a day of empowerment, community panels, and best of all, tips on building business from marketing to capital. I'm here with Lisa Stevens, Senior Business Consultant with Chase for Business. Lisa, what's one tip you'd give to business owners here in the Crenshaw area?
I love that you asked that question. I'm originally from Brooklyn, and I grew up in an area that's very similar to Crenshaw. So this is near and dear to my heart. And if I could only leave a business owner with just one, I would tell the business owner to identify their why. And I think that is so important because your why is going to be that strength on those days where you feel like you're struggling. Your why is going to be that stepping stone. Those days that you want to give up, your why is going to be the reason that you get back up.
And how would you advise business owners looking to acquire capital? What do they need to know before stepping inside the branch to ask for funding?
So, three things. I do want to share this when it comes to the power of capital and just finding those resources. Understand that capital is a three-part of a business, right? It's not always about the monetary piece, but if you first put that intellectual, right, what do I need to know? That social, what do I need to know? That will help you to then package for that monetary piece. No matter who you're banking with, you should know your banker. Never walk into a bank and you're transactional only.
It's just like Lisa to drop gems. I'm Maisha Cairo in the community for KBLA with JP Morgan Chase.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
Okay, so we talked about how people like Elon Musk and this guy, this Dilbert creator guy, don't understand, or they either don't understand white supremacy and racism, or they're just adherents to white supremacy and they try to disguise it as something else, indignation, or what's fair. Scott Adams is the name of the Dilbert dum-dum. Well, now Howard University's law school is being sued for racial discrimination. This by a white student, of course, who says that, I'm laughing, and you will too if you really think about it, the institution created a hostile education environment. Why is this funny to me? Because if you have to deal with for one day, 1 year, 1 month, or a law school education, what black people deal with, what Latina people deal with, what Asian and many Asian and indigenous American and Arab American people deal with every single day, which is being the only one or being one of the few in a crowd. And so everything is not catering to you, and sometimes you may be in some uncomfortable situations. You can't handle it, or you don't want to handle it. But yet we're called snowflakes because we want safe spaces. Yeah, you should have a safe space, but you chose to go to Howard Law School, so don't be surprised if you see a bunch of black folks there. And they're not catering to your every whim. This guy, Michael Newman, says he started Howard Law in fall 2020, and he quit while he was dismissed in 2022. He wants $2 million for pain, suffering, mental distress, and yet this reputational harm. This is the old reverse racism playbook. The university says they can't really talk about it because there's pending litigation, but they say they're going to vigorously defend themselves, and that this is basically, in a nice way, they say this is a bunch of BS. They say it's a one-sided and self-serving narrative leading to the end of the students' enrollment at the university. Newman says he experienced, quote, public ostracism, vilification, and humiliation. It's not easy being the only one. I've done it many times myself. I've been, just due to the fact of my mom being a poet, and we moved around so many times. I was at 16 different schools by the time I graduated from high school, 16 different institutions. And several of those were all white. And, you're always the new kid, and now you're the black kid. I understand public ostracism, vilification, and humiliation, and more than that, harassment. I'm not saying it's okay, but to me, the fact that you think you should get a whole $2 million from a historically black college university when you signed up to be that only one. Nobody forced you to go to Howard Law. He says that the head of diversity recruiting told him he had become the most hated student in the university. Well, yeah, because apparently he was tweeting all kinds of things. Like he tweeted a picture of a slave with an enslaved African with scars all over his back, and the tweet said, "But we don't know what he did before this picture was taken." That's not discrimination. That's you being I almost said something I can't say on the radio. That's you being an idiot, acting like an idiot, and then taking the consequences of your actions. Free speech doesn't mean no consequences. You make people hate you, they're going to hate you. You can't sue for that. Well, yes, you can. And he claims he was making fun of people who defend police, but that's not how it was read. Obviously, that's not how I would have read it had I seen it. After that, he said people started making comments about his race, gender, age, sexual orientation, and how he looked. Oh, being made fun of at school. Ha! Then I get 2 million too. And you get 2 million, and you get 2 million, and you get 2 million. Fahima points out to me that he got $78,000 worth of scholarships. Yeah, I'll put up with being an only for that. He said he felt utterly disenfranchised. He felt like, gasp, a black man in America. No, he didn't say that. But that's what he said. Tell me you're used to white privilege without telling me you're used to white privilege. I'm suing Howard for $2 million for a hostile environment because I went there as a white person and then decided to taunt black people on slavery and belittle our experience of enslavement. Tell me you're acting like an idiot without telling me you're acting like an idiot. Dwight from Compton, you have the mic.
Good morning, Dominique, Jumbo, to you, all the KBLA family, and I'd like to thank you, Miles, Tavis, all the hosts there at KBLA for giving us a voice and giving us such a great radio station. And I just want to say I really enjoyed Ben Crump's acceptance speech at the NAACP Image Awards, where he said, we're going to continue fighting till hell freezes over, and then when hell freezes over, we're going to fight on the ice. Boy, he gave a most inspirational speech, and I'm looking forward to Tavis's Martin Luther King and Malcolm X show coming on today at 9, and then it's going to repeat at 10, so I'm really looking forward to that. And also I wanted to ask the KBLA family to help Jackson, Mississippi by maybe going online and asking President Biden at whitehouse.gov to support them, because I really didn't realize Mississippi has a 40% black population. So if you have 10 elected politicians, four should be black, and should be elected by Democrats, and 6 should be elected by the Republicans. But instead, they jam all the Democrats into 2 voting districts, so they get 2 politicians, or maybe even 1 sometimes, and they get 8. So we really got to help Jackson. So they're trying to, like you said the other day, they're trying to elect the judges for that city instead of letting the city elect them. And they're trying to take the airport revenue out of Jackson, Mississippi, where
and the police and the police control of the police as
and
well.
The police too. And because they went around the racist governor, and I didn't even know his name till I had to look it up. Tate Reeves or somebody, because he never comes on TV. He just does this little racist thing. And how can you take the function of a city away from the people in the city? They said they even voted to raise property taxes in the city to improve their roads, and then the racist white Republican governor came and took that revenue away from. So they went around him and asked the black.
Tate Reeves.
Yes.
What a
Tate Reeves. I had
never
heard of him until I looked at. The more dirt you do, I guess you try to stay under the rock and do your dirt, because you don't want to come out in the public. And then, so they went to the Black Caucus and asked them for funding to help them clean up the water treatment plant. And now they're trying to take that money away from the city And I don't know if you can ever talk to Mayor LeBoom. You may have talked to him in the past. You can get him on and just
I haven't. I've
how...
always wanted to interview him. I haven't talked to him.
Oh, yeah.
Chokwe Antara Lumumba, yeah.
Yeah, because that is so racist. They're trying to clean up their water treatment plant, and they're the state capital city. And so because they're predominantly black, the white state politicians are trying to take their power away from it and steal the money that President Biden, and we should claim eminent domain like we did when we put the freeways in on the water treatment plant and make sure the government is over the repairs and the funding, and so the money is actually given to that water treatment plant and the funding stays in the city. But Dominique, we got to help Jackson, Mississippi, any way we can. It's like we in the free state, so now DeSantis and all the racist southern states are going to be the Confederate slave states, I guess, and take away women's rights, take away voting rights. I mean, it's almost like Dr. King said years ago, we got two United States, so we got to fight for our brothers that are behind the red curtain and do everything we can to help Jackson, Mississippi get clean water, and also Flint. That's how Flint got bad water.
But think about it. This is one of the talking points, Dwight. Well, you know what? We'll continue this conversation when we come forward. It's a favorite Republican talking point about why cities under Democratic leadership are not thriving. And Jackson is a perfect illustration of what I'm talking about. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Michael Jackson biopic to star his nephew. Maisha Cairo here with your K-Black Minute News, brought to you by CaliforniaBlackMedia.org. Michael Jackson's 26-year-old nephew, Jafar, will star as the King of Pop in an upcoming biopic. With the news official, Jafar Jackson, a son of Michael Jackson's brother, Jameem, posted photos of himself on Twitter in character as his uncle, stating he is humbled and honored to bring his uncle's story to life. The film is being shot this year and has the full support of the late singer's estate. Katherine Jackson, the mother of the late pop star, said in a statement that Jafar embodies her son. I'm Maisha Cairo, and we've got a lot to talk about.
Thanks to our new sponsor, Lendistry. Lendistry is a national black-led small business lender that is headquartered in Los Angeles. Lendistry helps small business owners access the affordable capital needed to grow. Visit Lendistry, LENDISTRY.com/KBLA today.
Are you a business owner, freelancer, or filing taxes for the first time? Are you tired of dodging the IRS? Stop what you're doing now. Mac Tax Solutions, the father and son dynamic duo tax team, is the most sought-out tax business around. Mac Tax Solutions guarantees 100% maximum refund and free consultation. Call now, 562-715-9945. That's 562-715-9945. Or visit MacTaxSolutions.com. IRS or California FTB notices. Free e-file remote tax services with free secure tax dome portal. A $40 gift card will be included when you file. Call now, 562-715-9945. 562-715-9945. Staying on track with all required documents will help you reach your personal and financial goals. Prevent paycheck garnishment. Max Tax Solutions will even provide all tax programs that your business could be eligible for. Now is the time to make your business work for you. Call now, 562-715-9945. Be sure to download the KBLA app. Tell all your friends and family it's time for a fresh tax start. Call now, 562-715-9945. Or visit the website at MacTaxSolutions.com. Call now, 562-715-9945.
I switched to Boost Mobile and got a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone. Want to know the best part? It was free? Nope. The fact that it's on America's largest 5G networks? Nope. It's the ding. Oh, yeah. Love the ding. Right? It's all about the ding. It's the dingarooski, the dingarona, the ring-a-ding-ding.
Unleash your power to save with Boost. Get a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone when you switch. Boost Mobile. Unleash your power.
And the ding.
Limited time offer. New customers only. Available on select networks. 5G not available everywhere. One device per line. Tax excluded. Additional restrictions apply. See your local Boost Mobile store for details.
KBLA Talk 1580 would like to thank all of the businesses that tune in to KBLA at work. We celebrate you, your calls to the station, and your overall support. To show our appreciation, we would like to treat your office to lunch for 10, sponsored by John O'Groats Family-Owned Restaurant and johnogroats.us. Open the KBLA Talk 1580 app or log on to KBLA1580.com to submit your office to be selected for our Office of the Week. We know you're just like our staff, putting in many hard, smart working hours per week. We just want to say thank you, and we appreciate you. You and your staff deserve lunch on us. Enter your office to win lunch for 10 and be highlighted on KBLA Talk 1580 as our Office of the Week. Open the KBLA app or log on to KBLA1580.com to enter your office today to become the KBLA Talk 1580 Office of the Week. Sponsored by John O'Groats Family-Owned Restaurant and johnogroats.us. Become the KBLA Talk 1580 Office of the Week. This has been a KBLA Talk 1580 community call to action.
Our Weekly Los Angeles is the largest audited black newspaper in the state of California with a distribution of over 50,000 copies weekly. Pick up a copy every Thursday to get the latest news on African American communities of LA. You can also keep up with what's going on in Los Angeles and surrounding cities by going to www.ourweekly.com. The Our Weekly website is updated daily with the current news about us and for us. For your advertising needs, Our Weekly offers economical advertising packages to fit your budget. Feel free to call Our Weekly Los Angeles at 323-905-1300 or visit the website at www.ourweekly.com. Our Weekly Los Angeles, reporting news that matters to you.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio. KBLA Talk 1580.
Dwight called, and I always love to hear from Dwight, talking about Jackson, Mississippi, where the state of Mississippi, their state legislature, is entirely controlled by far right-wing conservative Republicans. Meanwhile, Jackson itself is the only U.S. city where the black population is rising rather than sinking. More and more people, black people and others, are moving back to the South, and hopefully that will start to change the complexion and the philosophy of some of these state legislatures. But I say as a favorite talking point because Republicans like to say, Democrats have been running these and they're running to the ground. And while some of that may be the responsibility of those Democratic lawmakers, Democratic Party lawmakers who are doing a not so great job, many times there's situations like what we see in Mississippi, where the state legislature is not giving those cities the funding that they need. And in cases like Jackson, where they're actively hating on them, trying to have an apartheid system where the police would be controlled by the white state police, the white state legislature would control the white state police department, which would be over the largely black city of Jackson. And it's the same thing that they're trying to do with the judges. So they're trying to control the judicial system so that they can criminalize at will black people in a thriving African-American city and squeezing the life out of them by not offering the resources that they need. We look at the water crisis in Jackson. It was the underinvestment for decades by these racist, conservative legislators at the state level that refuse to fund the renewal of those pipes and infrastructure. I mean, so it's a talking point that sounds good, but it's completely untrue. Dwight, I know you weren't done talking about Jackson. Go ahead.
No, but I thank you, Dominique. But it just goes to show you, it's so. They say if they sometimes they want to follow the federal laws, and then sometimes they want to follow the state laws. They have no. The goal lines keep being moved, whatever benefits them. And the reason why I was talking about Jackson's Bar, because in Flint, Michigan, General Motors, when they switched the water supply over to a bad source, they said, hey, you're rusting our auto parts. They switched the General Motors factory back to the clean source of water, but left the black people in Flint, Michigan on the bad source of water. So you know if it's destroying your auto parts, you can imagine what it's doing to the internal parts of your body. So, Dominique, I just want to thank you again, and we got to help Jackson any way we can. And go to everybody that's 18 over, please go to vote.gov and register to vote. It's important to vote. It's important to protest. Like Ben Crump said, we got to continue fighting. When hell freezes over, we're going to fight on the ice. So keep fighting and keep doing what you're doing, Dominique. I'm looking forward to Tavis' show later on with Malcolm X and Dr. King. And I'll call back maybe next week and talk on that. Thank you, Dominique, for all you do.
Dwight. I love that you've got the schedule down like that. That's amazing. That's what we call love and support. And the love and support is going right back to you. Go to Jerry from Beverly Hills. Jumbo Jerry. Oh, that's our Swahili word of the day. Jumbo. Wait, hold on, Jerry. Before I forget, our Swahili word of the day, we're going with the basics. We're going with Nia. You know what that means, right? Not Nia Long. Nia, well, she probably is named after the Swahili word. It means purpose. Anyway, that's an easy one. Nia, purpose.
Oh, okay. Is the CIA still committing torture?
Well, my guess is yes. I'm not privy to top secret intelligence, but that's my guess.
Can Biden stop it?
My guess is yes, but I don't know for sure. I mean, theoretically, we, the United States, comply with the Geneva Conventions on what is considered torture or unethical war crimes. We do not do, but this in-depth article in the New York Times gives us a very big look inside of the reality, and the torture is just horrendous.
But this has to come to a stop by Biden, or the vice president has to stop it. Somebody has to stop it.
Well, yeah, technically, I guess it would be the Congress, because they can pass legislation that says that's illegal, but the thing is, it's already illegal. So I don't know. They can resume funding. Yeah.
Enforcing it. So that's what has to be done. We want to be civilized.
Thank you. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Civilization over barbarism, right? Because that's and the thing that upsets me is that I want us to live up to our Constitution. I want us to be that beacon of light, to live up to the principles of our country. And yes, our Constitution was flawed because it allowed us to be enslaved and women not to vote and on like that. But it's basically a pretty good document. The American experiment, yes, it needs the participation of women and people of color and black people to force our country to live up to its ideals and principles, and even move beyond that to something more generous, more idealistic, more humane. But you're right. We have to start with the darkest, most terrible place, which is that place of horror, of torture, monstrosity.
Of course.
Well, Jerry, you know what? I appreciate you always asking questions. I mean, I'm talking about something or other that I've got, stuck in my mind for this, that, or the other reason, or something I think maybe you'd be interested in or might want to know about. And Jerry's always got a point of clarification, and I do appreciate that. I think the way that we do it is by continuously making it clear to our elected officials. And now when you talk about the CIA, that's federal, right? You're talking about the folks in Washington, that we don't accept this, that we find it unacceptable, and that this is grounds for us to not vote for you again, vote you out of office. And I think we also have to find criminal liability. I mean, if people are, for all intents and purposes, raping prisoners, in one of the stories, this guy had this feeding procedure done while naked with his hands handcuffed above his head. That's a war crime. And we have got to, just as we'll hold Russia accountable for the war crimes they're committing in the Ukraine, which there seems to be ample proof that they are doing so, we need to be able to hold our own forces, not just our armed forces, but our clandestine teams accountable to our U.S. laws and international laws and global universal laws of decency. All right, we're going to be talking with the controller when we come forward. Kenneth Mejia is joining us on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Well, it's a big day in D.C. as the Supreme Court hears arguments over President Biden's plan to forgive an estimated $400 billion in student loan debt. The program would cancel 10,000